Or if you feel you're on a mission from God, go ahead and read this.
You'll have to be.
But
You'll have to be to read this one. Welcome back to Paper Movies, a novelization book club. I am one of your hosts, Matthew, and with me I have the other host, Adam. Adam, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. I'm a little tired, but I'm here and I'm ready to discuss the reason why I'm so tired.
Oh yeah, the novelization to The Blues Brothers, written by Miami Mitch. Now this is based on the screenplay by Dan Aykroyd and John Landis. Man, this is one crazy novelization. So before we get into our overall thoughts with this novelization, I'm going to give a brief summary. Two orphans, their brothers, the Blues Brothers, need to raise money to save the orphanage. They plan on shutting the doors to the orphanage, and there's this Nazi organization that plans on buying the building to make it their new headquarters. So Elwood and Jake Blues need to come together, get the band back together, and save the orphanage. So that's the summary. It's easy. We got two characters going around trying to get a band back together after they had split up. What are your initial thoughts?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm exhausted after reading this because it was a chore. If that's indication of how this book was, it was a chore. I finished it in pretty good time, but I'm going to start off by saying that this book is 245 pages. Okay, 245 pages and only 7 chapters.
Yeah.
So
that always makes it difficult to get through.
Yeah. And I will admit, there were some things that were in the novelization that I was like, and I remember texting you about, I was like, wait a minute, like, what's this and everything? And we'll get into that in just a minute. But I know there's been some musicals that have had novelizations. I've collected some. At the moment, I refuse to read them. But after reading this, it was wild. I wasn't a fan. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I was not a fan.
This novelization is vastly different from the film.
Yeah.
There are very few similarities. I didn't like it either. This is the first novelization I have no problem going out front and saying this thing is trash. I don't know why it's such a difficult book to come across and why it has the price tag that it does.
I don't know either, but you see, I love the Blues Brothers film. It's classic.
It's one of the best.
I love it. Dan Aykroyd, Belushi, Aykroyd, great. I love it. Great team. I did not like this book. It was boring. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this. One of the biggest differences is them finding the band. It's more or less the process of them trying to get the band back together. Because there are some scenes that were in the film that were in this book, like, the church scene where Jake sees the light and gets the message from God to get the band back together, because the nun that is asking them to raise the money is telling them to do it legally. Like 75% of this book is them trying to find the band. I'm not joking. Like, I think there was like maybe over 100 pages of them just searching for the band. And then the last 70, 80 pages was like the events of the film, slightly different here and there. And in the film, they found the band in like probably a number of like maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, because they had the group people together in the film. And this one, every band member, they had to go after each band member. Every single one was an adventure. And I thought it was funny that Jake, every single time they did meet with a new band member, he would tell them the same thing. Like, you were the backbone. You were the heartbeat. You were what made the blues band awesome. Like, he did it to every person that they came across. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I didn't like how we're on a mission from God. They changed it. Like, every time they said it, they're like, we're on a mission for God. That doesn't sound like what they said in the film. That's
Yeah, it's just for nostalgia reasons. It's a mission
yeah.
from God. Yeah.
It's because it's such a classic line, and then they're doing it wrong the whole time. It was strange. There was one scene, Adam, that I found that was exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. Well, everything else was altered. Everything else was different. And it's the most random scene that to keep as the same. It was when they go to the restaurant and Jake orders 4 fried chickens and a
And a
Coke.
Coke. Yep.
And Elwood orders toast with nothing to drink.
Yep.
Like it was the same. That was the same scene. And I was like, oh, finally. I don't remember what page that's in, but it's somewhere deep in the story. Like we get all the way to the restaurant where they make the order, and it's the only thing that's exactly the same.
There was they went to that other fancy restaurant too, and it was a little bit different, but it was kind of trying to stay true to the original material. Like, they're just obnoxiously making noises and obnoxiously eating, and then Jake would go to a random guy with like, hey, you, how much for your daughters? How much for your wife?
I want to buy them.
And like, in order to get their trumpet player, who was the maitre d' there, I remember they used the exact same threat. Like, we will eat lunch here or we will eat here breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. Yeah. And then he was like, okay, fine, I'm in. He's like, I give up. And but yeah, they went through I know Matt Guitar Murphy was, I think, the last person that they went to go get. And as you mentioned, that was very deep into the story. And in the film, that was like maybe, 20 to 30 minutes in. Mm-hmm. And and it was what I didn't like, though, was I've often wondered, how do they do write musical numbers in novelizations? And using this as an example, when they went to Ray's music shop, in the film we have, Ray Charles, like, rocking out on the keyboard, and the whole neighborhood is dancing to the to the song and everything. And then it just said, like, and then Ray started playing and he just started busting out, Shake Your Tail Feather, and I'm like, oh, like, I want to go watch the film now.
Yeah, it does bring that it's a letdown whenever that kind of thing happens. The story goes off the rails. There's like they blow up a house.
Mm-hmm.
So random. Like, there's nothing even remotely close to that happening in the film. Like how they're going out and camping out in this neighborhood where it's all muddy and swampy. And like one of the guys is a security guard that's watching over this, like, this neighborhood that's in development. And they blow up a house to get rid of the evidence. Like, because they tear up the walls and like, what are we going to do? How are we going to make it, to where no one knows that we were here? And they're like, let's just get rid of it. So they blow it up. It's so stupid.
The only thing that I can think of in the film that they like blew up was like when Jake's ex-fiance, blows up the hotel they live in, and or the phone booth, but there was one scene in there that I know that was actually a deleted scene from the film, because I remember watching the deleted scene, and that's when Elwood quits his job at that factory he works at. And he gives the exact reason. Like, he's just like, I'm going to become a priest. And, and then he's like, okay, I'll call payroll, get your paycheck up here. I was like, that's like, I'm surprised that excuse worked. But
I mean, there's so many funny things that were in the film that they didn't put in the novelization. Like when they go visit the nun at the orphanage, how they're creeped out when they go up the stairs because there's like Jesus, like, on the crucifix, and it's like real eerie, the lighting and everything, and they're kind of terrified to go in and speak with the nun. And then when they get thrown out and they fall down the stairs, the nun's like in the doorway talking to them and like crosses her arms and like hovers backwards, and the door slams shut.
Yeah.
In the book, we don't get any of that sort of thing.
No.
So, even the whole, like, one of my favorite lines in the film, Jake and Elwood, they go to Elwood's apartment or hotel room, whatever it is that he stays in, and there's an old guy that's playing chess out in the like lobby area, and he turns to Elwood and he's like, "You get my cheese whiz, boy?" And Elwood pulls it out of his jacket and tosses it to him.
Yeah.
Like, that's so funny and random. Where did that come from? Not in the novelization.
Nope.
There's so much stuff that's just missing. Like the little details with the cops. I have to bring this up. I'm sorry. This is only in the film, not in the book. But I noticed this on my rewatch of the film. Every single time there is the car chase with the police officers and the cops wreck their car, every single time, at least one cop says, "Dang, they broke my watch." Through the entire film, every single time. And like I thought it was just in the first part of the first cop chase. Nope. Every single one of them, there's a cop that yells out, "Dang, they broke my watch." I was like, that's funny. It's funny that they remember to do that every single time.
There is one difference in there that I caught on to, like, and I was there's two things. One is that they did explain. I don't remember them mentioning it in the film. I did not get to rewatch the film, so if it's in there, I probably just don't remember. But they do mention how Jake originally went to prison, because the film opens with him getting out of prison, and it was for robbery, and then they have a prequel, or not a prequel, a prologue, to when Jake was born, and
so random.
And then when he gets sent to the orphanage, and I'm like, and then it shows that it mentions like he was placed next to a baby that the nun named Elwood. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, so they weren't actually brothers; they were just raised together. Yep. So in a sense, they're brothers. Like, I always thought that they were biological brothers, and I'm like, wow,
yeah.
And honestly, though, we could have gone without that prologue because it was not needed.
There was a lot in this novelization that wasn't needed. But I mean, there were some parts that were funny, you know, that added a little bit. Like some of the banter between Jake and Elwood was pretty funny. I can't really give an example of, like, I know that they're fighting about like not road rage, but the statistics on traffic and people who die on the road all the time. That was kind of funny how they were going about that, but it just, their conversation, they spoke to each other way too much in the book. In the film, there was more of like a awkward, not a comfortable silence between the two. And in the book, it's like constant, like they always have to be talking, which I kind of found annoying.
Yeah, and even then there was like a line in there that says like, he's like, "Hey, Elwood, you don't say much, do you?" He goes, "Never." I'm like, yeah. So earlier today, before we started recording, Jeremy actually sent us a message, and he goes like, "Hey, I have some fun Blues Brothers trivia for you. Dan Aykroyd's original script for the movie would have made the film about 5 hours long because it talked about how each of the band members got their own introduction." And I'm like, I guess we are reading that original script because most, if not all, of the band members get their own introduction. I'm just like, guys, come on.
Yeah. We go to the ghetto with the drummer. He's like in the projects, and it's like really dangerous. Jake's tires get stolen off of the Bluesmobile, but he's got an extra set in the trunk.
Yeah.
So weird. It's such a weird novelization.
It was way out there, and I had to force myself to finish it, and because I really didn't want to, but I refuse to review a book unless I finish it. It's and it was just, oh my gosh. Like,
it was definitely a challenge to get through this one. The film, far superior. And what I noticed too on the rewatch of the film, in Home Alone, you've told me this in the past when we did our Home Alone special, or what was the guy's name? What was the movie inside the movie? Hell's something.
Oh,
in Home Alone.
Angels with Filthy Souls.
Angels of Philly. That guy, the gangster, is the 911 dispatcher in the Blues Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw him and then I heard his voice, I was like, "Oh, hey, that's the guy from Home Alone."
It's also John Candy. He plays one of the
One of the
detectives
police officers. Yeah,
in the
I
film. Like, yeah, he was in Home Alone. Or yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love that scene though with John Candy in the film when they're in the concert at the very end, and
Mm-hmm.
he's laughing. He like points down at Jake, and Jake's like has like an awkward take, like looks at him. It's so funny.
Oh yeah, they're waving at him. He's just like
Yeah,
he's like I got you, and they're
yeah,
like ooh, but yeah, I like that. I like that scene entirely. Like when Elwood like takes the mic, he's like, we're certainly glad that each and every one of you lovely people decided to come out, and we'd like to thank each of the representatives of Illinois State Law Enforcement. And there's like a whole horde of cops
yeah.
up
The whole
there.
yeah, yeah. The movie was better. That
Oh yeah.
even the ending was weird too because in the film we see them in this big auditorium playing their music, and then in the novel it's like a smaller location, I think, at the end, but they're doing
Mm-hmm.
like wet t-shirt contests and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so weird. I didn't like the book. I've
Yeah, I
said
think
that, but I
they
don't like.
went. I think they went on after one of those wet T-shirt contests, but in the
Mhm.
film they went after Curtis, Cab Calloway, Minnie the Moocher, and
Yeah,
that was a great scene too.
yeah,
Even though like a lot of people, I've heard some people be like, "Man, it's weird. Like he's dressed as Cab Calloway in his white tux, and then it just cuts back to the original clothing." I'm just like I always took that it was just an illusion,
yeah,
like
yeah. Feel being
but
swept up in the music.
mhm. Yeah, it's sad. We're a novelization podcast, but yet we're telling people don't read this
To
novelization.
not
It's not
read it.
worth it.
Yeah,
Collect it.
but
That's the
but
only thing I will say is collect it.
yeah, cool cover. I mean, even the whole like Nazi situation was bizarre in the novel. They were trying to
Hmm.
buy the orphanage building to be their new headquarters. It's straight. I would like to know the process of what happened between this script that we see in the novelization and what we got on film. Like what happened? Because there, after reading the novelization, you could see where some of those things in the film could have been shot, but they altered it. Like when they show up at that bar to play their first gig after the band's been reunited,
Oh
and
yeah.
like they play the show, and then like obviously the bar's going to be closed because it's so late, and the other band shows up, like they're getting, oh, we got to go play our gig, and it's like everybody's already gone home.
Hmm.
Like I always thought that was strange, and then I
Yeah.
think in the novel,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
in the novelization, there's like Jake kind of steers people away from doing shows. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, you've got a different gig over here on this other place," or whatever. He causes confusion, and I don't know, just the way that it was shot in the film makes me wonder if they had like something else filmed entirely, and then decided, "Oh wait, we need to go back and make some major cuts."
Oh, like reshoots and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
do. I remember the good old boys. Yeah, they
Mhm.
were named something different in the novelization. I don't.
Yeah,
There were
so like
Wally and the
Wally and the Waldos or something.
yeah, Wally the Waldo and the it was a weird wall rockers or something. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
it was I remember in the film Jake passes off as he's a guy that I think works for ASCAP. I think like which is organization that protects the rights of songs and everything. And
Yeah.
he like holds up a cigarette package, passing it off as a badge. He's like, yeah, I'm with ASCAP. He's just like, but uh, yeah, that scene's funny. Like, I like that line that one of the lady that worked the bar said. Elwood's like, "Man, what kind of music do you prefer here?" He goes, "Oh, we prefer both kinds, country and western."
Interesting. Yeah.
um, it was that scene in the novelization was pretty close. there was like a
Yeah.
scene where the owner gives them like, "Hey, we want you to play these songs," and they ended up just playing something completely different.
Mhm.
Like I think they played like Rawhide like twice, and
Yeah. Yeah.
but one thing that scene that I noticed that was different was he mentions like, "Well, I just wired your wages to your agent," and he's like, "But there's also a matter. You drank like
Like $300 worth of beer.
yeah, I know." And in the novelization, he's like, "Yeah, I was supposed to pay you $200, but you drank $300 in beer." So they owed like $100. He's like, "Oh." And then afterwards, Jake's just like, "Hey, they want us to pay for the beer, so you guys might want to bail."
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I like how Jake always he gave everybody a hard time too, and they're like, "Hey, I thought you had 3 to 5 years," because he got out of jail early for good behavior. But he like makes them feel bad for not giving him a call or writing him. He's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you'd know that if you wrote."
yeah.
So I thought that was funny too.
But man, yeah, that's really much all I got. It's
Yeah,
I this novelization was a drag. There was a couple of chuckle moments, but overall, I was just like, if you're a fan of the Blues Brothers, just collect the novelization.
hmm
Just collect it. If you are feeling froggy and you want to read it, go for it. But man,
if you got a lot of time to kill,
yeah.
if you want to know how different a novelization can be,
Or if you feel you're on a mission from God, go ahead and read this. But,
you'd have to be.
but,
You'll have to be to read this one.
yeah,
Ugh,
yeah.
it's rough. So I
Um,
guess we're both going to give it pretty bad a bad score.
yeah. Uh, man, I
I don't
was
want to give it an F. I don't want to,
at
but
very best. Go ahead.
I'm going to have to give it I'll give it a D. I'll give it a D.
I'll give it a D minus,
Okay.
and
That's fair.
that's at very best.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and
That was hard.
yeah, and I really hate giving books that low of a score, but we got to be honest, and I'm sure the author, what's his name, Miami Mitch, did best he could do. Um, but
I don't even
this
think
was
that's his real name. I think that's altered for the novelization.
this is probably being a little crude, but maybe he didn't want to write this book, and he didn't want to be attached to it, so he just said, "Here, I'll just write it, but I'm using this pen name or something."
Mitch Glazer, American writer and film producer.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I think Miami Mitch is like the pen name he chose for the Blues Brothers.
Gotcha. Man, yeah, D minus. It's or wait, it's a book about musicians. I'll give it a D minor. There we go.
Okay.
let's just rank it using music chords or something. I mean, me and Matthew are both have like both big experience playing music and everything. So
Yeah. F flat, F sharp, whatever.
F major, yeah.
Oh, all
But
right. Well, hopefully next month will be better.
yep,
We're going
I'll
to
go
be
ahead
talking
and
about
Godzilla.
1998 version.
Yep, and I'm holding the hardcover because I'm proving that, as the film said, size does matter. So, and we're actually going to have a special guest for this one. We're going to have a friend of ours, Matt Wilkins from Matt's Expanded Universe. He's been wanting to be on Paper Movies for quite a while, and
Yeah.
he loves this film. Matthew loves this film. I like this film. I'm a I'm a devout Godzilla fan, so I definitely have my opinions, but I'll get into those next month. But it's the film itself, I will say, I do like. But
Yeah.
um, Will the novelization be as good as the film? Well, come
We will
back
find out.
to next month in April. So
Yeah.
So,
You can go scratch your eyes out now.
I'm
Switch out for you.
I'm gonna go drink $100 worth of beers. You know, so
You can forget it. Okay.
I'm gonna drink the same tab as the Blues
Just drink the
Brothers.
tab. That's funny. All right, folks. Well, have a good night. Subscribe to the Paper Movies and Novelization Book Club. We find that we did hit our goal of 300 subscribers. That was
did.
awesome. So next up, 400.
And thank you guys all for helping us make that happen. Do appreciate
Yeah.
each and every one of you.
Absolutely. We'll catch you guys next month.